Good night.
realm, which is the spiritual world. Jesus having the authority over this particular spirit. He didn't send her down to Jackson Memorial. He didn't send her down to Cleveland. No, he did all of what they would have done right there and then. And he did it with authority. So the scriptures are showing me and anyone who have eyes to see that yes, I can engage with the spiritual world, but clearly I need some authority or some backing or some sponsorship to overcome what has been oppressing me all my life. So as you begin to read down the scriptures, this is the part that really had me. It says that all of the preachers or whoever was there was upset with Mr. Jesus. How dare you heal this woman and you didn't get a seed from her? What are you doing? So listen to this.
Make it happen for those. You can call 829.
Know what they would have said or done if he did that. So the Bible said that when he did that, the spirit left immediately. And listen, immediately she was able to stand up straight. So what happened? I mean, what actually took place? So what you saw here was a clear demonstration of the physical realm engaging with the unseen realm, which is the spiritual world. Jesus having the authority over this particular spirit. He didn't send her down to Jackson Memorial. He didn't send her down to Cleveland. No, he did all of what they would have done right there and then. And he did it with authority. So the scriptures are showing me and anyone who have eyes to see that yes, I can engage with the spiritual world, but clearly I need some authority or some backing or some sponsorship to overcome what has been oppressing me all my life. So as you begin to read down the scriptures, this is the part that really had me. It says that all of the preachers or whoever was there was upset with Mr. Jesus. How dare you heal this woman and you didn't get a seed from her? What are you doing? So listen to this. So they were upset with him. And he said to them, you people are hypocrite because they were mad that he did this on the Sabbath day. Okay, then he began to tell them, the hypocrisy that they did. So he said, watch what he says next now, because he's about to reveal more of the unseen world in his what he want to say. So he said, listen, this woman has been bound by Satan for 18 years. Now let's put a pin right there before we go any further. Now, is Satan visible? No, he isn't. Who is he? He is a spirit. So Jesus is telling these people, the preachers and all the attendees, he says, listen, this woman here, you know what had her tie up for so many years? You know what incapacitated her body, that is, and she could not move about like the average human being. There wasn't no food she was eating. Her boyfriend didn't beat up, none of this stuff. What happened was there was a spirit, and he labeled the spirit earlier, which was the spirit of infirmity, of course sent by Satan himself, that had such control over her physical body that she could not operate or function the way she was designed to function. So now it brought us back to this, our topic again, spiritual battles with our reproductive system. And of course, with any other part of our body. So based on that story and many more like it, is it possible? Is it possible that invisible entities, is it possible, such as voodoo, witchcraft, Santeria, uh, secret society who deal with evil altars and sorcery, is it possible that the things they're actually conjuring up can behave in the same way that that spirit behaved on that particular woman? Yes, of course it can. And many doctors, especially who's been in the profession for a while, will tell you there's certain cases that came there. And it had all of the symptoms of cancer. It had all of the symptoms of uh, diabetes. But when we ran our tests, everything came back negative. However, this person is suffering like a dog, as if and showing every sign of cancer. But there's nothing physically based on the tests that we're doing here is showing us what we're looking for so we can begin treating this. So it leaves the doctors baffled. So, last one and I'm finished. So we go there now to Deuteronomy 28, because Deuteronomy 28 now gives us a more deeper insight to what Jesus did in regard to the operation of the spiritual realm and the rules, laws, and principles that govern that realm. It is only when we are lacking in that particular knowledge of how that operates there, we are open and susceptible for it to take advantage of us. So in Deuteronomy 28, God is now giving Moses some directives to tell the children of Israel. And he starts off in verse 1 of Deuteronomy 28. He says to, if thou wilt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God and observe to do all his commandments and so on and so forth, he says, I will set you on high, I will promote you. So this will become the physical benefit of carrying out this spiritual order. I will promote you. Now, he didn't say go to school, get college degrees and doctorate degrees. And I'm not discouraging anyone from doing that. I want you to look at the spiritual implication here. If I follow the laws of God, because he's telling me by default, if I do what the laws of God is saying to me, this thing is going to pan out some supernatural stuff that could not happen under normal circumstances. And it would not require what the world dictates that I should do to attain them. So he says, if thou shalt listen unto voice, hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God and observe to do all his commandments, he said, I will set you on high, and the blessing shall come upon you and overtake you. So pause right there. So the word blessing there speaks about empowerment, but he's speaking about an empowerment from a supernatural source. However, you must follow the protocol previously said in order to cause this thing to activate in your life. So he says, if you hearken in the Hebrew literally means to listen and to do what it is that you're listening to. Hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, observe to do all of his commandments. I will set you on high, and all of these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you. Thou shalt be blessed in the field, blessed in thy body. Listen, blessed in thy body, blessed in thy storehouses, blah, blah, blah. Jump down to verse 8. He says, listen, if you keep this up, here's what I'm going to do now. Aside from those blessings, verse 8 says, now I'm going to command the blessings on you. So some more coming. He didn't finish there. We dropped down to verse 12. He says, now I will open up my own treasures and dump you out some more blessings. So when we drop down to verse 14, because all he's doing is riddling the things that he's going to do for you supernaturally if you follow the instructions in verse 1. Verse 14 says, now, hold on now. I got to give you a stern warning. Because just how there are spiritual blessings in this life, there are also spiritual curses. And while blessings will mean to empower, blessings will mean to make one go forward in life, well, whenever you hear the word curses, immediately think limitations. Because to curse something means to either stop it from functioning the way it was designed to, or at minimum to limit its capacity to function the way it's supposed to. So in verse 14 of Deuteronomy 28, and let me read it because I want to quote it properly for you. So Deuteronomy 28 verse 14, it says here, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day. That means all of the instructions he gave previously. He said, don't go to the right hand or don't go to the left. Listen, why? To go after other gods and serve them. So this statement here in verse 14, Trish, becomes the pace setter, becomes the prerequisite to every curse that he's about to say what happened to you. So he begged them literally in verse 14, don't turn from everything I've told you. Obey my commandments, do my will. Whatever I ask you to do, please do it. Don't turn to the left, don't turn to the right. Don't let nobody roll up in your life and come with some different doctrine or telling you something the Bible don't say. Run from these people. Verse 15 says, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken. Here we go. You choose not to follow. Now, this is going to be powerful now because in not following, by default, you're activating spiritual implications that will work against you physically. Watch this. So verse 15 says, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken, meaning to listen and do, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Listen, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Not only will it come upon you, will go ahead of you. Talking about generational now. Cursed shall thou be in the city, cursed shall thou be in the field, cursed shall thou be in the basket. But listen to verse 18. Cursed shall thou be in the fruit of thy body.
Yeah.
Hold on now. What did I say curses mean in a nutshell? Limitations. Bringing a stop to the regular functions of how your body should operate. So this Bible is telling me you don't gotta go eat a bunch of bread and stuff to give you cancer and all these other things. You in fact you could put that on hold. Just decide to go against the laws of God. Just decide to put your hand to sorcery. Just decide to go and join secret societies and making pledges to other Greek gods, all this other stuff. And by default, you've given the dark side the right to afflict you. So don't tell me nobody wakes up on you. Don't tell me they put something on the road and you walk on it. Now that might be true, but for the most part, we are part and parcels of our own demise because of our ignorance. Now watch this. This is the part I wanted to get to. So let's go down here now to, where's it? I think it's verse 27. Okay, anyway, let's look at verse 22. No, sorry, verse 21 of Deuteronomy 28. All of these are still the curses now. And all of this is because you choose not to do it God's way. He said, the Lord shall make his pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land where thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with the consumption and with a fever and with an inflammation. Listen, all of this because you choose not to obey. Remember now, nobody's doing this to you because he gave you choices. You choose not to do what he said. So automatically you're saying to the evil side, hey, come over here, come do a number on me. That's what you're basically saying. So he says here, verse 22 of Deuteronomy 20, the Lord shall smite thee with consumption and with fever and with an inflammation and with an extreme burning and with the sword and with blasting and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. Okay, so let's go down here. Where's it now? Okay, verse 27 is what I wanted to get to. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt and with the emeralds, circle that word, and with the emeralds and with scab and with the itch whereof thou cannot not be healed. Okay, good. Now, emeralds, what does that mean? Well, then we look up the Hebrew word for emeralds. Some translation will call it hemorrhoids, but that's not the original meaning of it. The original meaning of the word hemorrhoids in the Hebrew literally means tumors that cannot be healed. Well, I'm sure doctors are listening to me right now, and they all know that the definition for tumors that cannot be healed, or the translation of it, is cancer. That's what cancer is. Cancers are tumors that develop. The cells begin to grow up normally or whatever, and they cannot be healed. So they either cut it out or they do radiation and so on. So the Bible, not medical doctors, the Bible is telling me that if I choose to go against God's rules, I am opening up myself spiritually. Ain't no food I eat. Ain't no too much Kong salad. Ain't none of that. He said, it is this right here. It is the spiritual implications that no television is talking about, no news channel, not even a Christian channel is telling you about. Because everybody is telling you to eat healthy, and you should, make no mistake about that. You should. But there's another aspect of it that they're missing. And that is what we're talking about right now. So all throughout the scriptures, you will see the basis of what I just told you playing out. For example, if you go to, you don't have to turn, you can write down the scriptures, Second Kings chapter 5, verses 15 to 27. And it's the story about Elijah and his servant Gehazi. And remember, after the guy Naaman had leprosy, and he went to Elijah, and Elijah told him, look, go down by the river, go dip 7 times and get from around me. So Naaman was upset about it because Elijah didn't even come to tell him this. He sent his servant. So Naaman left Elijah's place totally upset, not going to any Jordan River to dip. But his servant said to him, he said, now listen, master, I know you're upset with this dude, and I know his hair ain't good. But I'm telling you, I heard some good stories about this guy. Just take my word and just go down there and dip 7 times. Well, he did that. And he came back up on the 7th time, completely cleared of this leprosy thing. He was so ecstatic and excited, he decides now to take some nice gifts that he brought from Syria, take it back to Elijah. Elijah said, listen, I told you to stay from around my place. I don't want nothing from you. Keep all your stuff and go. because I don't want you to say that, whatever. So his servant Gehazi, this is Elijah's servant, was trying to figure out if Elijah's head was right. He turning down all this Gucci and Prada and all this stuff. So what he did is while Elijah wasn't looking, he jumped on his little horse and giddy up behind Naaman. He said, "Now, Naaman, now look here, let me be real with you. You know, my master does trip sometimes, but I would like to have a couple of them Fendi bags for my wife," and so on and so forth. When he went back, Elijah, who saw all of this in the spiritual realm, asked him where he was. And he came up with some story. And Elijah cursed him. Here's that word again. Elijah cursed him, and listen what the curse was. Because remember, we just read in Deuteronomy, because you can see it played right here. God says, if you hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, I will not only bless you, but the blessing shall fall upon you and overtake you. That's the positive. In verse 15, he says, but if you do not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, not only will the curses come upon you, but overtake you. So watch this. Elijah said, servant Gehazi, because you have done this, let the leprosy that was once on Naaman fall upon thee. Watch how a sickness is being spiritually transferred. He said, let that leprosy fall upon you. The brother didn't finish there. And let it be upon your descendants forever. Now, maybe I missed it in the scriptures. This dude wasn't eating no rice, he ain't eating no bread, he ain't had none of those things they said is give you cancer and liver problems and fatty liver. I ain't read none of that. What I read is a man who fall in the category of Deuteronomy 28 verse 15 going forward, where he disobeyed. And as a result of that, he left himself spiritually open for the attacks. So I can wrap it up right here. Let's go right here, right here. We're going to boom it out the park right now, and then we're going straight into the questions. So now let me bring that. Now that it gets your attention from the scriptures, because y'all wouldn't have believed me if I say it off my own. Now let me bring you back. When you hear people say stuff like, I hear they work bear on this one. I hear they put something down in their chair. I hear they drink something and their stomach swell, their legs swell. And what do we do? Kiki, laugh, this old fool. These people believe in this stupidness in this 21st century. When you just would have read, okay, how a sickness could be transferred, how a spirit of infirmity, an actual entity without a human body, could come upon you and mimic cancer, mimic HIV, mimic hypertension. And we're calling it mimicking because when we run the results, the tests to prove that's what it is, everything come back negative. So this is why I said in the last show, I said, based on the rules I read, God tell us never to make pledges to other gods, never to participate. He told the children of Israel, when you go into Canaan, burn their altars, tear down their groves, their altars, all this other stuff. And he told them how to do it with fire. Least they pull you away from your God. Because he's telling, remember we read in the 14th verse of Deuteronomy 28, he says, do not turn to the left or to the right to serve other gods. So it is true, this, I call it hypocrisy in the Caribbean islands and in the Bahamas likewise, because we like to blame places like Haiti and so on. And guess what? It's equivalent here. It's just more undercover here. But a lot of people are engaged in sorcery in the Bahamas. A lot of them are engaged in tarot card reading and doing certain, what I call omens that were handed down from generation to generation, such as, or Mama said, listen, to keep spirit out of your house, mop your floor with turpentine, or let somebody come in and do a spiritual bath where you put some herbs and stuff in this tin tub, and you take off all your clothes and go in there, and they get this piece of tree leaf and begin to wash you down. Or when the baby crying at night, put the black string around the baby arm. Watch this one now. This is how you tie the child to the altar for life. After you would have given birth, secure the placenta or the birth to bury it under a particular tree in your yard, which now becomes an altar, because this is also a blood sacrifice, because the blood from that, which is the child and the mother, that is now being given to a spirit that you cannot see. But this spirit, as a result of you following this ritual, will now dictate the course of this child's life. So a lot of young people you see getting gunned down viciously. In some families, you see like 2 and 3 other children, siblings, getting gunned down year after year. I could guarantee you, If you were to do your research and if they were to be honest, because everything will lead back spiritually to a source that everybody thought was hidden. But at the end of the day, and I'm done right here, demons have no loyalty with human beings because their final state is eternal damnation. So whatever it is that they claim to be doing for you, or the altar is doing for you, it's to deceive you to ultimately capture your soul to an eternal hell.
My God. Listen, listen. We had to make sure lay the foundation again. For those who may not have watched part one, that is the foundation. So when we get back, we're going to take a little break. And when we get back from the break, we're going to go straight into question and answers. And so for those who may have a question that they may not want to share on the Facebook Live, the what
Okay, people, so we will do them in parts. We will continue with part two. Hope you're enjoying.